Alright. Let me get my mic up and running. Welcome. I'm going to get started in this talking discussion because I'm reviewing the new series on Netflix that came out, which is Pacific Rim The Black. I'm trying not to talk too much. And the game I'm going to be playing, of course, is what you see is Fortnite. Since this game has been a while and I haven't touched anything on it, so might as well get started on that. I'm gonna put my fake face cam on so we get right into reviewing this and hearing my discussion out. I know it's a little bit late, but I'm trying to not lower my voice a little bit too, like try not to make my voice too loud, so I don't want to disrupt whatever is going on in the thing out there. Okay, so I just finished watching Pacific Rim The Black. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I have also, if you haven't checked my story, you should probably check that out on the phone side. You have a story where I have all these anime series that are really good, and I should recommend you take a look and watch that as well. But like I said before, I just finished watching Pacific Rim The Black. It was really a great series. It wasn't the best, but it was really good to the point where I was satisfied with my expectations of it to be like similar to the Pacific Rim movie. But this one, since they didn't have the restrictions, because in the realistic one they had restrictions where they couldn't do certain things, while this one in the anime they had no restrictions. So I was completely, like, how you say this? I was completely like surprised and happy to see something really fantastic. And I'm gonna explain it right now. But let's go ahead and do the review of the season 1, which is in fact really good, and I still like. I end up liking the series, even though it did had some flaws in there. It was really good with the character base and everything else that I was expected for it. So again, the Pacific Rim, when I first encountered a couple of episodes, cause I finished the entire season already, because again I have to do this review for the entire thing that came out. When I saw this whole we call it expectations of every character, okay, I was like, alright, these characters are gonna try to go with their lives. In the beginning, it showed how much crazy chaos the city was going through, and I was really shocked. I was, because when you're going through that whole entire city and all the stuff that's happening was really like it was like a newcomer for me, in other words. So oh my goodness, my thing, I'm already dug in the sand. So when chaos had happening, and I need to get out of the sand, and all those creatures were coming in and terrorizing the city, they had to save their children. These two parents were basically using a dagger, and it was crazy how they managed to pull that off and save them and lead them to like this place in the canyons. It was, again, this is spoilers if you don't want to hear spoilers, but again, the whole thing about the dagger, in the anime thing was quite different than the realistic we always saw from the movies. This one, they actually put their passion towards the characters and actually put emotion, and I'm glad whoever did in the anime studio, they did a good job in making a really, like, how you say this, a really fantastic, what do you call this, a fantastic character build up. Because usually when we see the Pacific Rim, there's terrible acting and terrible skills. They're trying to do their best, and it's like they don't nail it in the job. Like whatever they're doing doesn't seem to nail it. While in this series, they do a good job in nailing the characters and knowing what their strategy and their backstory is. The good news is that they don't seem to be like, what's the right word to say this? They don't seem to be like always attached to the dagger in this series. They actually find different ways to survive without the dagger, and they come across to different types of, like, what's the right word to say this? They come with different types of technical, like, strategies to survive, because their machine. Hold up, I have something to say. Sorry, just noises in the background. Gotta mute it a little bit. So they end up finding, you know, because it's been like 5 years after their parents went away, so they're basically on their own with their friends in the communities. And what ends up happening is, what the heck? What ended up happening when they, what's the right word to say this? The communities that they were supporting for a long time and staying there, they wanted to stay out of the fights with all these kaijus, basically these creatures. They didn't want to be spotted because it was risky, and since the whole place was like really bad at the time of their survival, they wanted to just stay away from all these kaijus and, like, in other words, stay out of the war, stay out of the fight. Ever since their parents disappeared, they had no choice but to keep themselves alive, and their job only goal was to wait until their parents came back, which 5 years they never did. And the sister's been trying to convince the brother, which the brother doesn't want to, because he himself has a person that he cares about. So that's when made me realize, when he's just doing his best to try to stay alive, at the same time just stay, you know, keeping his friends alive and his sister alive, that he doesn't want to lose people. Because again, when you have friends, you want to keep them alive. You don't want them in paranoid trouble with anything. Trust me, because that's how bad it starts getting. So he ends up refusing and fighting until, well, like a moment in the season one, episode one, she ends up finding this Jaeger, which, I mean, it's really incredible when you realize you found something from the reckoning, and that ends up like giving you an idea, like maybe we should use this to do, to help help out or get more supplies or things like that to the community. But the problem is, out of their curiosity, and ends up leading a kaiju, this creature, into their like community, and from their recklessness, it's like leads a tragedy event where everyone and their whole entire friends and innocent people just get destroyed, and it was heartbreaking. It was, I really didn't like, I was shocked when that happened, and it really puts a pain to him too, because again, when you realize that your whole entire community gets destroyed, and you're here like, what the hell happened, or what is going on, things like that, you're confused. So when their community got destroyed and they were forced to abandon the place they usually once called home, the story takes off where they're on their survival skill. They meet these crazy creatures they haven't seen from the wreckness of the city. And it was really crazy in these 2 episodes where they're trying to do their best to stay alive and not get killed. Because there's now smaller kaijus that we never seen before from the movies, where the anime they put smaller creatures that are attacking them and they have to avoid them, which it reminds me of the series Demon Slayer, where the brother and sisters are fighting for their life. It was a really crazy like way to do a different approach without powers, so it's not, you're not using powers anymore, they're just using another strategy, and it makes them like trying to do their best to gain advantage of their objectives and goals, because again, they're only by themselves trying to make it through with the only walkers, since it does run on power, and that power, of course, if they haven't seen the films, they do without the power, but for something like this one anime series, it makes it that they have powers where they have to rely on. If they lose that power, it starts to shut down their Jaeger's machine, so they have no choice but to always go after the power in order to continue their little continue their Jaeger to function. Otherwise, all machines always break down if they don't have enough power. So that's what I was trying to say. Oh my god, I have a lot of like hiding. What is this, prop hunt? So their Jaeger was like their only survival machine to make it through from all these crazy kaiju creatures and stuff. And they come across this kaiju Jaeger, which is like half creature, half machine. It's really crazy looking. Like, it was like how you say this? or artificial intelligence, where a lab got wrong and they released this robot machine that feels like it wants to act like a kaiju creature, so it's going rogue, and they end up encountering that and having clashes with it, but they still survive and manage to pull off. But there is this one attempt where, and during down the storyline, they meet this crazy, like, how you say this crazy, the mystical, like, this call it salesman, like, team, where out of nowhere for an existence they just completely, how you say this, completely have a terrible, like, strategy. Because again, what's up with the villains today, man? They're not really good. They're just wannabes. They don't show like a really crazy strategy. They're just they're coming in. It's similar to the Wanda and Vision series, where their villains are just so bad. Not all of them, but still, the villains that I've seen and witnessed are just awful, man. They're just, like, again, they're just acting so poorly. Like, I think what the writers need to do with these villains, they really need to help them out and put a purpose to them. Because the way I saw the Pacific Rim, the black villain, is so, I just disliked him. I did not find him interesting. He was just there to just be around and, support around the cast members and cause problems, and couldn't keeping the main characters hostage so he can do his heists to get greedy with his items. In other words, he was a greedy person, and he had the technology, he had soldiers behind his side, so it made him greedy enough to hold this stuff. And off the bat, I just did not find him interesting. I really wanted him to get rid of him. They have this for the entire couple of episodes, which I still was not pleased about that. But it does make sense why he was there, and and one of the characters was traumatized by this villain, so they have to do their best to like get out of there and try to save themselves, at the same time save their Jaeger that from getting compromised by these, because all these soldiers were trying out the Jaeger and trying to see if they can control it, which all of them sucked. They didn't do a good job. Of course, the AI or something did not respond with them, unless this one sidekick character, who's also like a supportive character. She ends up going with the main character, Taylor, and they both end up working with the kaiju. But the problem is, for some reason, the kaiju was having problems for them in the beginning. So I was like, oh dear. I really knew off the bat, like, yeah, this is not going to end well, and they suck at fighting at first. But as the series progressed, they end up getting their fighting skills a little bit more improved. Not quite. Though I still, this even though we don't see a lot with the character, or what you call the sister of Harley, that's what her came. You don't see a lot with her. At least she does pretty much what you expect a main character to do, and she doesn't just sit around saying, "Oh yeah, let's watch the fight," or let's see what my brother can do. She tries to do her best to help, and she does it. She helps out. She finds what she needs to find, and she completely does what your main character is supposed to do when you're helping your brother out, and she does a good job with that. I'm glad they actually pulled that off with her, because I thought Harley was going to end up being weak in the series. She ends up being a really strong character, equal to her brother Taylor, so that does work really well with them. When the fighting scenes came with the Jaeger and kaijus, they were really awesome. I actually enjoyed watching it than the movie, to be honest, because the movie, you show these fight scenes, but if the CGI, even though you had CGIs with it, it didn't feel like I was like fighting a battle that seemed like it was all in. While the anime series, it feels like a battle where they're all in, like they're doing this for a purpose. They're doing this because they had a reason, and it was all based on like their strategy and goals. Because in the film, they can recover since they have a base, they have people supporting them. These guys, they can't. If their Jaeger is destroyed, that's it. They're dead. So they have to do their best to try to use what they got and try to make their machine like if they were alive. So that's what makes this series really crazy. They do lose one part of their Jaeger, but they end up recovering it from an encounter with of course, the artificial intelligent kaiju machine, which is half Jaeger, half kaiju, and they end up having this we call boy character. That's what they call him, boy. He fits a really perfect role with this. And to be honest, when I first pair him, I'm like, okay, he's just gonna be, getting like we call it Harley more like interested in him and always tagging along, spoiling him. So I was expecting that he's gonna be spoiled by Harley all the way through the series, and I was right. He was gonna be spoiled because again, the kid, he has nowhere else to do, he has nowhere else to go, so it pretty much fits with that why he was getting spoiled. Though the villains is the way the strategy goes, since they're cellmates, they're doing a lot that didn't satisfy me, but at least they're trying to make money, they're trying to own power, and I still find that, somewhat hopefully in season 2, because this thing is not finished. There's gonna be another season for sure, and I'm looking forward to that too as well. But again, with the villains, hopefully they can build more enthusiasm, his origins, backstories. Because I expect at least maybe 5 seasons to 6 seasons of this series. Because they need to build a backstory for this villain in order to make him interesting. Because I want to see what led him to do what he's doing and creating this, it's not just being in sales, but creating this whole aspect of a community of his own like army and his own like ideas of having this like sort of like being a leader of this group or something like that, similar like the Walking Dead, where you're trying to be this main leader person and doing all your best to take control of it and shape however you view it. That's what basically he was trying to do, and it does like similar to what the Walking Dead with that kind of image of him. But then yet again, it's still like he disappears, he doesn't show up again from after the near the end, and I know he's probably gonna return. It's not gonna be the end of him, but again, for the beginning of introducing this character, they still need to do a little bit better than that. And season 2, they now should probably hopefully fix that kind of issue. But again, let's go ahead and talk about what was the reason why I still recommend people to watch this. There is the fighting scenes and main characters, and of course the supportive, who are really like gets you intrigued, interested on seeing what happens to these characters, what are their expectations, what are they trying to find. Because again, their goal is, after the community gets destroyed, they're trying to find their parents that went to fight back these kaijus from 5 years ago. And so in their journey, let me tell you, they do end up finding something that's related to them, but not quite. Because again, this is 5 years ago, and we don't know if they're still alive or dead, so it's still a mystery. You don't know whether they're killed off, they're completely. It's still like we're still in expectations, trying to see rather or not where are they, or if they're still alive or not. We don't know yet. But the good news is that once they end up finding their wreckage of something, they end up looking upon recordings that everybody does is look at recordings, which tells them more information, which is pretty sad. It is, but again, it doesn't show any deaths or anything like that. It just shows what happened like during the events when they had to abandon, I guess, their Jaeger, which was kind of like what 5 years will look like if Jaeger was completely abandoned. So it does make sense what went down there and led to that. Now I would have preferred if they did a strategy where they were completely like having their fighting scene at first with a few recordings of fighting scenes, and then having to abandon. That would have been much better. I would have preferred that way, but I'm okay with it. It still works as a tape recording of abandoning their thing. But let me tell you, there is this one particular scene where the boy like, it's so weird. This boy has ability powers because he was in this like tube for a long time that filled with liquid. He uses ability powers to, for some reason, to communicate with this AI. It was pretty strange and bizarre. Like, how did he do that? Like, how can he just like communicate with this kaiju Jaeger creature or machine? It's like half machine, half chick thing. Like, I don't know how he ended up doing that, but he communicated with them, led to that AI machine from attacking both the Taylor and Harley, to supporting them and helping with their machines fixing, because I guess the machine had problems and needed to fix it. So he ends up the thing ends up fixing something from their parts, and that gets them a little bit more strength and ability power, like an upgrade to their Jaeger, and getting them more like suited up for the next battle, which I was looking forward to. And once the next battle comes in, all hands on deck, this is where things get really bizarre. So they end up meeting again one of their main supporters, who are completely, like, how you say this? They're completely, known that she doesn't want them there. And again, another supportive character who doesn't want them there, just wants to be by herself. So they end up just going there anyways, and she doesn't do anything about it. I don't know why she completely did that, but again, these two characters still communicating with each other, and supposedly, after making so many rackets and noise that you don't do, that causes kaiju to hear these sounds where it's coming from, ends up bringing the kaiju from the earlier, because there was a kaiju that fought them from the first episode. So that kaiju returns to fight them again, and this is where it gets really bizarre and interesting. For some reason, during their fighting, once they realize that their whole entire, like, Jaeger was getting destroyed since there's no one plying it, they had to get this kaiju away from the machine and running towards some place that's safe, that doesn't involve getting them killed at the same time, doesn't damaging their Jaeger. The sister ends up for getting hurt. She doesn't get killed though. She just gets hurt or knocked out a little bit. And supposedly the boy character, he gets really freaking pissed when that happens, when she was not responding and something was going wrong. She gets pissed to the point where, for some crazy reason, this is where things get bizarre turning point. Like, it gets really, really interesting. He uses his ability, his unknown abilities that we thought, okay, they're just like little shield powers or something from his encounter with the half machine, half a creature thing. And he freaking has I don't know where, I think someone pulled it off and saw Attack of the Titans, if you've seen that show. He pulled it off, and instead of turning into this large human, he turns into this like medium big size kaiju, which is freaking crazy. Like, they completely have him transformed and using some sort of ability to do that kind of stuff. That is bizarre. And he's now a freaking kaiju. Come on. That is interesting. That is freaking awesome. I've never seen that. I want to see more of that, hopefully in season 2, if he does pull that off even more and more. That right there. Now, I know probably Attack of the Titan fans are gonna hate me, but that looks more cooler than the freaking Attack of Titan forms. I really do think that form, it looks much cooler. Like, I'd rather be transformed my own self into a kaiju than a freaking large Titan human, because again, Titan humans are naked, and this kaiju freaking has claws and it's a creature, and I'm like, yeah, I'd rather be this instead to transform, if to be honest, because that is freaking cool. And they have a whole fight scene with the creature kaiju and the boy kaiju, which is insane. It is, to have him just transform and do this fighting against them, though he is still weak and the kaiju is more bigger than him. it doesn't look like a winning chance for sure when the fighting came through. But at least he was giving some time for the other guy, what I call the Daker, to come in and save the day and do all that, fighting necessaries in order to, I don't know why somehow it kill me, to do that fighting and do this whole cool scene with them using their new gadgets and taking down the kaiju. And of course the sister, not staying around and sitting down, helps at least to defeat them using, some sort of like super weapon that their parents like hidden down and got jammed in their old machine. She uses that and she finds a good range where she tells them to lure in the kaiju, and they have this good trap set up perfectly tight to get to that area and just completely shoot at that kaiju to order to defeat him. It was pretty insane how their whole plot and destroyed went through and just took down that kaiju within a single blow. It was insane. It was. So I gotta say this, yes, the whole season, again, because I don't want to spoil it too much, was worth it, and it was something I'm looking for when they put up the next season. And this is still gotta be like really good, for sure, an anime series I recommend to watch, including the Demon Slayer that they both have in common now, and they're both like brother and sisters trying to fight for survival. And yeah, this Pacific Rim did a good job in satisfying me and giving it worth it. And hang on for a second, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. I had to use the pause image. New pause image is kind of like a little bit of a short break, but I just use it if I'm gonna do something really fast. Again, that what I'm saying was pretty neat, and hopefully the series that I looked at it upon this will continue to, not just be one of those like, oh yeah, let's go ahead and do this and that. One of those series where they're actually put their passion in it. And I want, at least, if they can give us at least 4 to 5 seasons of Pacific Rim the Black, I would be more cool to see where these characters would go, including the boy that can turn into a kaiju. I would like see what kind of development and kind of thing he's gonna do, because that is freaking sick how they something did that. And here's my another theory that I was gonna say. Runners and Sniper, I don't want that. Another series I wanted to say is, oh, that's Phil. Cancel. I don't want Phil. Okay, so yeah, another series that I'm also like looking forward, and this is my theory, that they're saying during the thing that humans, they've been doing test subjects to these humans who are transforming them into kaijus, and that's bizarre. I'm like, that's in my theory, bizarre. Like, are they using humans to transform into kaijus? That is crazy. But it could be wrong. Could came from underground Earth or space. But again, that is that because that's what was Taylor was saying. He was saying that, are they using humans in experiments to transform into kaijus? That is freaking bizarre. I mean, if that case, they're doing like probably pulling it off from the Attack of the Titans series, but instead using kaijus instead of their own humans to do this type of knowledge where humans become these creatures, which is it's pretty crazy. I feel, again, I don't know if the Attack of Titans will get mad, those people who created Attack of Titans, but I feel like they did pull off something like that, similar to that. And again, copyright is around the corner, so I'll be surprised if they end up getting a copyright from that, because their series is a little bit cooler. Because again, this copyright does affect companies, and when something looks like it's copying from a series in a different way or using something similar to their technique, then yeah, I think they can get in trouble or they end up filing a lawsuit. I hope that doesn't come to that, because if they say what is true, Taylor says what is true, and they do end up having some sort of like Attack of the Titans similarity, but instead using kaijus, where you have them now transforming into these kaiju creatures of different forms, then yeah, they probably will start having problems with the other guys who do the Attack of Titan series, and they're gonna start having some issues over there down the line. Hopefully, it doesn't come with that, and hope they're friendly with each other and they hope they respect one another. Because I don't want it coming down with something like that. But that what he said, Taylor, was insane, and I'm still looking to find out if it's true or not. Again, I don't know if that's true, but that is pretty. What I just saw is pretty clever and really crazy that to just witness and to actually encounter something crazy and was so mystery. Again, this whole TV show is a mystery. You don't know what you're expecting. You can be expecting, fights from the Jaeger to fights with the kaiju, and then unknown from out of existence bizarre turnout points end up happening, where you're like out of the blues surprised and shocked that this actually took place and this actually happened. I still want to know if their parents are still alive. Hope they did make it out. They're not dead, because if it's true and they're actually dead, that would really be sad, because not only they're losing their friends, but they're also losing their family members, which makes the both of them really really sad. So again, my takes on the viewpoint for this series, I gotta go with a 7 out of 10. I recommend to watch. Like, it really got me intrigued to the point where I was satisfied. I liked what they did, and they did pull off some Attack of the Titans similarity, but with their type of version, which I'm still the fans over there are gonna hate me for saying this, is much much better. To instead of seeing a naked human or a naked person that's big, I'll actually see a creature that actually looks like a different form and cooler in the anime thing than that. And I think that's my makes me feel more like I'm fresher than having to see a naked ass in the back of the other series, which I just, oh my god, to actually see that, oh my god, that traumatized me. I'm so traumatized by it. But with the kaiju, it feels more cleaner, and I feel more satisfied with that instead. Not to get it wrong, I'm still inspired by the other show, but this one just got me more interested in it, and I'm looking forward to what's next. Again, the supportive characters, they gave it all their might, and they did a good job. Though the villain needs a little bit help, hopefully season 2 they actually do a better job in getting more development to this villain and why he does what he does. Because again, with villains, you need to have them really good at their backstory, their purpose, and not only the purpose, but they also need to be good with how their own goal and strategy, what's their end game gonna be, and this whole out of this, and what they're gonna do to the main characters, and how they're gonna resolve it. So something like that, we need to see more, including the main characters, that they did a good job, or they're building up. We're liking these characters, and we're rooting for these characters to not just find their parents, but to stay alive. We don't want Taylor or Harley to get killed. We really do want them to make it through. There is a point where Taylor almost got killed, but he ended up making it through, laughing. So he was a freaking badass. You can tell right there when someone laughs like that. That's freaking cool. What is going on with my game, man? I don't know. For some reason, every time I hit to the flowers, it's doing that. But again, with the whole strategy and the whole plots of these fighting scenes as a beginning of season 1, they had mostly the fighting scenes were not with the Jaeger, but they're mostly towards them in survival, which is I give okay credit with. But in season 2, hopefully they can mixture with that, where they put like at least like 4 episodes to fight. 4 episodes with the Jaeger, and then try to do different episodes with them fighting in the grounds, because there's different types, and we want to see more like what are these creatures' origins? Because again, we have these unknown characters who came out of existence at the end, who we don't even know who they are, what their purpose was. But if they can at least guide us of what they are in the next season, they can actually give a little bit backstory of them and why they're doing what they're doing. Because I know as their first encounter, they're not gonna know what's up, so it's still gonna be like a little bit like different towards what their goal with that one is. But pretty much this whole like thing that I was watching with their strategy and how it ended was really clever. We're still expecting more like more stronger kaiju's during the next season. So we gotta see what kind of kaiju's, how they're gonna evolve, and how kind of thing they're gonna be facing. Because again, as these kaiju creatures evolve, they get more stronger and different. They use different tacticals and different sizes. So you can imagine, similar to the Pacific Rim #2, where you had this big creature that had mixtures between all these like crazy like machines just built on to this damn creature and formed him from being a large to a ginormous kaiju. And if they do something that in the anime, I'll be looking forward to see what's gonna happen and how they're gonna fight this creature. Because again, that kind of kaiju is like the end of the world creature, and off the bat you're fucked when you're just by yourself and you don't have something supporting, or at least you don't have your like dagger to have like the weapons capable of destroying that thing. So that's gonna be one of the interesting goals I'm gonna want to actually see too. The Pacific, as the other films I progresses, I didn't really like Pacific Rim at first, but when the anime came through, because these movies did a terrible job, I seen the characters between the anime and the realistic version. The realistic just did not pull it off with their characters. They felt too flawless. The heroes were not doing a good job. Even though they did their best with the action scene, everything didn't feel right. It just felt like it was being rushed. While this one, they took their time and they actually put more character emotions to it. So I was really like enjoying that, and it ended up satisfying me with the anime one, and more than the realistic. And looks like I'm dead. Wow. Not even a single second. I think because the better weapons they had. No, she was using. Okay, the player was using the same weapons. That's shocking. So yeah, the whole strategy of the whole plot and thing was really clever, and I like what these studio like writers and stuff were doing. I don't want any of these characters getting messed up, and we're still looking forward. What are they gonna do next? What's gonna happen? Because there's so many Netflix series out there. This is a Netflix series. If you're probably wondering what I'm talking about or where I'm watching this from, don't have a Netflix, you won't be able to watch it unless you can maybe pirate. I don't know if that's even possible. Pirate it. But rather than that, yes, this as their Netflix series is progressing, they're actually putting this one as the next like greatest one, and it's and to be sad, I'm really satisfied with this one. I really am. Let me go ahead and get it to the menu. The whole end game of this has to be, rather, if they don't find their parents, we want it to be them to have their Jaeger or have themselves as the most powerful elite squad that or elite team ever existence that can take down and stop the end of the world crisis and help recover or get the resistance or these like good people wherever they fled to back on Earth to get back their world to function again and create this community where they can actually reclaim their Earth, because I guess Earth is now like abandoned or wherever this planet is, depending on the situation. And we're all looking forward for what else is coming towards this. That's all I have for this review. You haven't seen the Pacific Rim, or you probably have liking this review, I still give this a 7 out of 10. Please recommend. I'm probably gonna rewatch it again. It's still cool. But again, I have other series I have to watch too. And if you haven't seen the WandaVision last episode, you probably should watch that also as well. And I'll probably review WandaVision maybe in a couple of days, depending on the situation, because that one I'll probably need to review as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you on another talking discussion live from your Zero Pal or Lock 425. I usually say the other character, but this is an exclusive. And yeah, that's all I have to say. And bye bye.